You're listening to the Grit to Growth podcast. Real talk with real business owners and professionals who built their freedom the hard way and now want more time, money, and impact.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Grit to Growth podcast. I'm your host, Levi Tesla, with Mailbox Money here in Sioux Falls, South Dakota. My guest today is someone whose career has touched a lot of different corners of the Midwest, from the newsroom to the arena to the symphony hall. Travis Morgan has built a reputation as a strong communicator and leader, and now he's guiding the Sioux City Musketeers as their president and CEO. Travis, it's great to have you on, and I'm looking forward to hearing more about your path and what has shaped you along the way, sir.
Levi, it's a pleasure to be here, and we just found out we're family. So I mean, it's great. I married into the Tesla family, so yeah, it's good to have family member talk back and forth a little bit.
I love it. I love it. Yeah, small world there. That's the definition of it.
Yeah, I mean, I married Sarah Tesla. And then I found out that you're a Tesla. I'm like, well, that's probably how I got my information. I mean, the guy's from Sioux Falls, and he probably got it because I married into his family. And then he had no clue when I talked to you, like, oh, I didn't know. I had no idea. So here we are.
It was meant to be. That's awesome, sir. You got into your personal story. Would you mind giving the people kind of your background, maybe early days, where you grew up and all that?
Sure. So I grew up in a small town, a farming community in northeast Nebraska, just 25 miles south of Sioux City. Waltill, Nebraska is the name of it. It's on the Omaha Indian Reservation. And I spent my majority of my life growing up and graduated high school from there, played every sport you could possibly think of: baseball, basketball, football. I ran track for a year. That was a disaster because there was golf to be played, and so golf was way much more fun than track. And did pretty much everything you could do. And that's one of the benefits of growing up in a small town. And so I got to play all of them, and then went on to college at Northeast Community College at the terrific broadcasting program for a 2-year school there. They have a TV and a radio station built into the college, and then just did 2 years there. I was going to go on to a 4-year school. That was kind of the plan, right? You do 2, and then you go on to pick up your 4. And I had applied for an internship with KTIV here in Sioux City, which is a monster #1 station. It's a lot like Kello out there in Sioux Falls, where they're a dominant #1. And applied for a 40-hour internship with Brad Pouch, who was the sports director at the time, and he called and he's like, "Yeah, let's come on over, let's do it." So I went there and interned, and I probably worked 40 hours that first week I was there, and I worked all summer long, learning the ropes from Brad, who is no longer with us, passed away last year, tragically of cancer, and so shout out to Brad Pouch on that, and Anthony Flores, who was the weekend sports guy, and they took me under their wings, really taught me a lot about the world. I learned more in about a month of being there than you do in college, because it's the real world now, and it's like you don't got time to mess things up. You're going. Let's throw you in the fire,
So then from there, getting all that experience, was the 4-year degree still on the table, or what happened after that?
Because at the end of that internship, Bridget Breen, who was the news director, came to me and said, I had an interview that day, my last day at KTIV. I had an interview over at Channel 9, the ABC affiliate here, and she found out about it. She's like, "Don't sign anything." She's like, "Don't you sign anything. We have to talk." I'm like, "All right, well, let's talk." And she offered me a job there to be the overnight reporter and producer at KTIV, which obviously wasn't an ideal job. You don't want that job, but you need you need your foot in the door somehow. And so you take it to hope that that you're parlaying that into something more. And it didn't take very long for me to get out of that position and be like the number 3 sports guy, and then cut my teeth there. Was able to go to Sioux Falls, work with Mark Ovenden for about 4 years there in Sioux Falls, and learned a ton from Mark Ovenden. He's a legend.
Yeah, absolutely.
in South Dakota, and he's so good. The thing about Mark is he's so good at preparing for content down the line. You're like, how did he get that soundbite? Like today, there's a foot and a half of snow out there. How's he interviewing? Because he interviewed him 5 weeks ago about this specific week, and he taught me so much about that preparation game and how to get so much out of so little with resources and whatnot. He's a master at that, and so I was able to learn from him, and then came back to Sioux City as a sports director at KMEG, and really that's kind of where it all started to kind of take off for me, and had a great run at KMEG, and then went to Omaha for 3 years in Omaha, and got to cover Nebraska. I was in Omaha at the absolute ideal time to be in Omaha, because I was in Omaha my first year there was the last year of Rosenblatt.
Oh, okay.
So I got to be there. I got to be there for the final game for the last year at Rosenblatt, and then it was the last year of the College World Series there at Rosenblatt too, obviously.
Yep.
And so got to be there for all the festivities of that. It was also the first year that Doug McDermott was a freshman at Creighton.
Really?
And he turned out to be okay. He turned out to be okay. And Nebraska moved from the Big 12 to the Big 10 in that span, and then obviously the opening of the new ballpark downtown. At the time it was TD Ameritrade, and so all those things are kind of happening at the same time. And a funny story about Doug McDermott: his dad, who's the coach, his dad, they didn't have much when he was a freshman. Like they were expecting to kind of be down that year. They played a couple exhibition games, and Doug led the team in like scoring, rebounding, everything. Like he just dominated. And his dad wanted to redshirt him his freshman year. He was going to redshirt him. And
Dougie McBuckets as a redshirt.
Right? And because they didn't know what they had. And I think his dad was kind of harder on him than everybody else. But he wanted to redshirt him. And thank good Jeff Vanderloo, who was a Sioux City East coach for years and years and years, was one of his assistants, and told him, he goes, you cannot redshirt your son. He's the best player we have. Have you not been watching those first two games? Like, he's the best player out there. We can't redshirt him. So he didn't redshirt him, and the rest, as they say, is history. And he became a legend at Creighton, and he was so much fun to watch. Great kid too, fantastic to watch, but it was a great time to be there. And then came back. My wife and I came back to Sioux City and finished up our careers in broadcasting. I did it at Channel 9, and she did it at Channel 4 on KTIV as a morning anchor. And
Okay.
And so then the TV thing ended. I took a job as left television to go as a marketing director of Winnevegas Casino, and learned a lot about business and a lot about marketing, and just the way the game is played in regards to purchasing times and understanding demographics and things like that. Broadcasters, to be honest with you, are great at marketing because they've been marketing themselves and marketing the product since they started in the business. Your job is to market yourself and market the station.
Did you ever find a challenge in marketing yourself? Like, I think a lot of people find that they don't like talking about themselves and whatnot, right? Did you ever have that challenge?
I think if you're on TV, you don't have that problem. It came with the territory. I mean, from the time I was the youngest sports anchor in the history of Sioux City. I was 19 or 20 years old when I actually got to be on the air and do some stuff, because I was there for 2 years. I wasn't a 4-year graduate. I was a 2-year graduate,
Yep.
and I got the job. So it really started at a very young age, where you're comfortable in front of your camera, you're comfortable in your skin. When you're on TV, people just automatically assume they have the right to tell you exactly what they think. Like, wow, that jacket's horrible. And you're like, thank you. I'm making I'm making $12 an hour. Okay, I don't have my Louis Vuitton on today. Sorry. You know, it's a lot of that where you just kind of you learn to get thick skin being in TV, but you also learn to promote yourself. And I learned pretty early on that the more you're able to not take yourself so seriously and make fun of yourself, the better off you're going to be, and the more people are going to like you. So I kind of embrace that.
So then you were saying that transition then went to Vegas. Now you're starting a market for a product, or obviously the casino at that. Was that a difficult change for you, or were you able to pick that up pretty naturally?
1,000%. Imagine going from something that you know everything about. Like at that time, 20 years in the world of television, you know everything about cameras, you know everything about stories, you know who to call to get the story. You know, all your contacts are in your cell phone. You know, and it was always funny when I was during my last years at Channel 9. Tim Seaman and I are very good friends, and Tim had been there as a sports anchor and then a news anchor. That's who I actually slid in to fill his role when he left sports to do news. I slid in that role. So it's very interesting because at that time, when people had questions on who to call to get a contact or who do we call for this, it was the two old sports guys that they would have to look at. Me and Tim were the kind of those guys that they would call and be like, who do we call for this? I'm like, oh, well, that's Jim. And Jim.
Easy.
Jim,
boop, boop, boop.
Yep, I got Jim's right here. You want Jim? I'll give you Jim. Not a problem. And that was from all the relationships because as a sports guy, you always built great relationships with these towns and these coaches that knew everybody. They knew everybody, and everybody likes the sports guy. It's like the sports and the weather guys, they can do no wrong. I take that back. Sports guys can do wrong if you get a name wrong, even if it's got 15 vowels in it. You better get it right. Otherwise, you can get phone calls from grandma and grandpa. That happens. And I got to tell you,
they'll bury you.
Oh, they'll bury you, or they'll call you and like, you said the score was 76-42. It was actually 76-43. You need to get it right. And I'm like, oh my gosh, okay, so you only got beat by 20 something. I mean, you still got beat by 20. Yeah. Whatever, fine. But
people are passionate. People
are passionate, and they should be. But I'll say this. When we would get the highlights of the games, and we would have somebody inevitably would always be around the whole area. In God's country up there. I gotta tell you, the names in Hull, the Vander or the one, the start with W's, V's,
D's,
T's, to Slaw. That's Dutch. That's right up there. Man, those highlights can get crazy sometimes. If you're reading them on the fly, you're like, this is tough. This is tough. So you gotta be careful with those Dutch names. They'll get you.
Yes, they will. That is for sure. All right, so bring me to, we've hit on the news broadcasting. We've hit on going into the casino world. How does a guy end up from sports and gambling to then the symphony?
So when I was doing the casino part, we sponsored the Sioux City Symphony Orchestra for their 100th year. We were the title sponsor that year because we thought that, at the time, if we could somehow get in with that upper echelon group of people that the symphony has, let's face it, like the people that go to the symphony are usually pretty well off. They're major players in the community. They have money, all those things that you're looking for. If you're running a casino, you want those people to come try you and play your games, right? You want them there.
That makes sense.
And then what I learned was they're rich for a reason, is because they don't spend money on things that they're not sure about. That's why they have the money, is because they know what they're doing and they're not going to waste it or give it away to anybody or gamble it. Anytime they give money or whatnot, they already know the outcome. They already know where that money's going and how it's gonna go. So we learned that group of people doesn't gamble. unless it's in business. And even when they gamble in business, they have a pretty good idea of what that outcome is going to be in the world of business. So
100%.
we learned that pretty quick. But we had a great relationship with the symphony, and that group and I became friends throughout the course of that season. And they had an opening that came open, and they called me, and the rest, once again, the rest, as they say, is history. We went on to go to the symphony and have 3 great years there too.
I was gonna just ask you how many years. So, what was your kind of duties as in that role?
So a lot of it was getting people in the building. Marketing was a big piece of it. There was, we had an office staff of 3. So, ticket sales, marketing, sales, the whole thing kind of just fell under me. There was a lot to it. But one of the things that we did that was very proud of was the first thing that I did when I got there. And this is kind of like marketing to me. To me, it's like my marketing 101. If I give you a tip on how to be a good marketer, it would be this. It would be, how would I get myself to go to that? What would I need to tell me to interest me enough to want to go do that? And so when it came to the symphony, I was dead honest with people. If you've never been to the symphony before, you don't want to come see Bach and Handel and those. Yeah, that should not be your first symphony concert, because you're going to play right into the stereotype of what it is, which is like, it's classical music, it's 2 hours long, and you're going to be bored out of your mind because you're not a music lover like you are on that level. Okay, now, do you like Star Wars? Yes,
of course.
Okay, right. Who doesn't, right? So we worked hard to be one of the first symphonies to land the Star Wars music there, or run the Star Wars movie where the symphony plays the music, the score for the movie while the movie's playing.
Yeah.
And that became huge. So I really would impress upon people through our marketing that come to the Pops concerts first, where we play the music of Queen. We do the movies of Fantasia and of Star Wars and these other concerts that aren't straight classical, where you're probably gonna be bored. This is something that and you like, and now you're throwing the symphony in with it, and it makes it that much better by having that awesome symphony play with it.
That makes perfect sense.
Right. And so a lot of that was just built on getting people to come. We also did a great job of taking away all those things that were false about the symphony, like, it's so expensive. So we did a story on, we did like, it's $15. You have to dress up. You have to wear a suit and tie to come to the symphony. Not true. Wear whatever you want. There's no dress code at the symphony. All you have to do is just show up and be comfortable. You don't have to dress any certain way.
I'm guessing some of your previous connections came in handy getting those stories and everything out into the public knowledge, right?
Yeah, and I think that helped too. As much as that was ideas that I would come up with to kind of debunk those things, it really helped having friends in television that would come do stories on those things for you. They would. I still had the juice in TV, where I knew all the reporters, I knew all the anchors at the time, and so they would cut me some. They would cut me a little bit here and there more, or give they do a story on this, and it was legit. They were legit stories, but I don't think anybody's ever really called them to do those kind of stories before.
Absolutely,
and we did those, and so.
Blending those two worlds together.
Yeah, and so you're leveraging your relationship with the people that are in media with you for so long to come cover you at what you do now, and that helps. That definitely helped. We were also right in that age of Facebook, and that was really starting to blow up, and you could target people so much easier then than you kind of can now. I mean, you could drill right down to it, and put the map out and say, go get them. And we did a really good job of that too, to really put it out there for people and bring them in. So I guess the funny story of that was one of my last concerts was, we really pushed that it wasn't that expensive. It wasn't what you thought it was. This symphony here in Sioux City is amazing. They can flat out play. And so there's those things, and then also the dress code, and just the common misnomers. And I think it was one of my last concerts that I was there, we had 4 farmers show up in Cargill hats, Cargill baseball hats, and sat in the loge. The expensive, the Muppet seats, they sat in those seats.
People forget those guys got the money.
Man, and that's right. They just bought a $400,000 tractor. You kidding me? Come on. And
this is nothing.
Nothing. And they came in jeans and the Cargill, the Cargill Seed baseball hats. And when they walked in and they sat down in the loge seats in that outfit like that, I remember turning to somebody and going,
"We did it.
My work here is done. My work here is done. I have done what I came here to do, and that's to get those kind of people, like the blue collar person, to the Sioux City Symphony Orchestra." So that was
broke the stereotypes on it for sure.
For sure.
It's awesome, Travis. Well, we're kind of getting down to it a little bit, but let's start hearing what you're doing with the Sioux City Musketeers now. And correct me if I'm wrong, you're on your 6th season with them, right?
Yep, this is my 6th year with the Musketeers. And as the CEO, and we've done some great things in the 5 years, because now we're in season 6. But the 5 previous years, we've had one of the best 5-year stretches in the history of our 54-year program. 3 Final Fours, a Clark Cup championship in 22, sent numerous players on to play college. We got the first year I was here, we now have 4 players from that team that are playing in the NHL, and it's really exciting to see and talk to those guys now that they've made it, and text them back and forth and talk with them about making it and stuff. And a lot of the great thing about hockey players is a lot of them don't forget where they came from. They're pretty good about staying in touch, and like Akira Schmidt, who's the goaltender for the Vegas Golden Knights right now. I talk to him probably about once every 4 months or so, and it doesn't take long. I'll text him and he's right back with it, So it's really fun to see that. But it's also been fun to grow this organization, the crowds, and the just the expectations around them, I think, have gone up a lot too. We've grown attendance. Last year we were averaging 1,900 people butts in the seats per game, which is about 100 people more every year. And when you think about what we're doing in Sioux City, doesn't have a ton of people to grab it from. So to get 100 more a game is
that's amazing growth.
Yeah, it's been really good. And I mean, let's face it, everybody loves a winner, and that helps. Winning helps, and we've won every year. You've been in the playoffs every year and made great runs. So that has definitely helped. But I think I think it's become such a Sioux City. The Sioux City Musketeers are such a piece of Sioux City's fabric. It is amazing how the fans really do love this hockey team, and the boys do a great job of giving back. And when they're not at the rink, they're out there doing other things for the community. And I think that's been one of our biggest points that we've tried to do, is turn these young men into pros, but also you're making them better human beings. Because when they arrive here, some are 17, 18 years old. They can barely do their own laundry. These guys, they're kind of clueless in a lot of different ways. Sometimes
they think they know it, but yeah, like you said,
they don't know, and but they think they do, and until they don't, until they realize it, but so many of them are great human beings, and we have this saying of the person makes the player. Person makes the player, and that means if you have a great person, you'll be a great player, and we have so many of those kids that have come through in the past 5 years that. You can't help but win hockey games with them, but they do so much for the community, as I mentioned. Great ownership group, Lloyd Ney and Doc Gornett have done fantastic work, in their almost 15 years now of owning the hockey team, of giving them opportunities that they weren't getting before. So it's just
Awesome.
it's a lot of the perfect storm, to be honest with you. Growing up, the Musketeers were my first love. Growing up in Waltill, I was in.
You got your full circle, huh?
Yeah. I mean, I was in the auditorium in 1986 when they won the national championship with my dad, and so 2 years ago or 3 years ago or 4 years ago now that we won it, I mean in 22, it was my job. I decided, I'm like, well, it's our 50th anniversary. I want that 85-86 team to come back, and let's bring them back and really cherish them and give them their due. And so here it was, Scott Schofstall. When I was a kid, that guy was my idol. Scott Schofstall was the man in Sioux City for the Musketeers, and when he came back, he called me the Godfather. You're the Godfather, and him and I hit it off great, and we still talk to this day consistently. And so it's kind of crazy that a guy that you grew up watching has become a good friend, and you're able to take that team and give it back to them. We told him, stick around this game where we have you sign autographs here between periods, and a lot of them like, nobody's going to want our autograph, Travis. Don't do this to us. We're going to be sitting at an empty table. And I said, you guys are going to be surprised as to what's going to happen here. And we opened it up, and there was a line through the entire concourse of people that wanted to meet this 85-86 team, because they're widely regarded as one of the greatest teams, if not the greatest team in the history of the USHL. And so many fans of that team came to the game that night and talked to them and got autographs from them and relived memories. It was great. So it really is a full circle situation. My mom to this day, she goes, I don't know if you liked hockey as much as you just like standing on top of the chair and cussing with everybody else.
Hollering,
when they were chanting BS,
the glass.
BS, yeah. And me standing on the chair when I'm 4 years old yelling BS because everybody's doing it,
You get away with it.
So it is, but it's been a fantastic ride here. And a quick story, Luke Strand who's now at Minnesota State Mankato. He's their head coach for the great Division I hockey team up there in Mankato. Him and I have been great friends for over a decade. And when I had that symphony job, he would call every so often, and just be like, hey, you should come over. You should come do this with me. You need to do this with me. And we kind of talked about it for a long time, and eventually it happened. And I remember him telling me, if you come here, we will win a Clark Cup. We will win a Clark Cup together if you come here. And in year number 2, we won a Clark Cup. And about 2 months after we won a Clark Cup, he's like, I got a job at Ohio State. And I'm like, whoa, I didn't even think about you leaving. What do you mean you're going?
You brought me here.
Right. I'm like, wait, what am I supposed to do? Now, I came here for, oh, man, and I just remember thinking like this, but this is the business. Like, this is the business of it, where we are here to put players in college, at a high level, and the NHL, but we're also here to move our coaches up to college and the NHL and everything else. And that was really kind of that moment where you're like, this is what it is. This is what my job is. It is my job to help these guys, go to the next level. And even if it is one of your best friends who now is leaving you and talk to you into getting this job, taking this job, and now all of a sudden he's gonna go. Okay.
Bittersweet moment.
Yeah. That was a rough day. That was a rough day. But you look at him now. I mean, what a great rise. He went on to Ohio State and coached there as an assistant for a year, and then got the job at Mankato State, and just done a fantastic job with them there. And he's such a fantastic human being, great head coach, and it's fun to get to watch him do all the great things that he does. And he's got like half of our Clark Cup team on his team at Mankato.
Who brought him?
Oh yeah, I mean, like,
that sounds about right.
The goalie the MVP goalie from Alex Tracy, he's got him there, and he's absolutely just one of the best goalies in the country and has been for 3 years.
That's fun.
And so to see those guys together is, continue the Musketeer tradition up there. All the coaches, former Musketeer coaches. I mean, like we call it Sioux City North. It's great. It's great.
That's awesome. Travis, for someone who's listening who might be young in their career and they want to lead, communicate well, or build influence like you have, what's a piece of advice you'd give that person?
I would say that you have to jump, and I don't mean that literally. I mean that figuratively, in the sense of you are going to be. There's going to be a time in your life when you have to jump to an unknown situation, an uncomfortable situation. And you have to figure out, is the juice worth the squeeze? And more often times than not, it is. You just don't know it yet. You don't know that the juice is worth the squeeze yet. But for example, for me, leaving television was a massive jump into something I had no idea what I could market, but I didn't know how to market a casino at all. I had to learn that. But it was a jump I was willing to take because I knew that down the road that would pay off. Same thing with the symphony. You learn things. And then here with the Musketeers, you are going to have to put yourself in uncomfortable situations along the way for you to succeed in life and for you to ascend up the ladder. How fast you ascend sometimes depends on just the bigger risk that you were willing to take. But at the end of the day, you have to jump. You have to take chances on yourself. Bet on yourself. That's the most important thing. Bet on yourself that you're willing to go there and maybe take less of a job now because you're looking down the future where in 4 years you can be something big at that company. So I just would think that you can't be afraid to really take a leap of faith and sometimes do what the unpopular opinion is, but do it anyway. Because you can always go back. Like if you jump and you miss, what'd you miss? You can probably go back to where you were. If you miss, that place is always probably going to be there for you. But this job
That's another important. Don't burn the bridges.
I have a great one, and it's the toes you step on today are probably connected to the ass you have to kiss tomorrow.
And I've not heard that. I'm gonna have to use that one.
I'm telling you, man, that one right there, and more than you know, and it's like don't burn bridges because you don't want that awkwardness down the line where all of a sudden you're like, yeah, I'll take that job, and you walk in, you're like, oh, hey Jim, how are you? Hey Travis, you got me fired from 3 jobs ago. I'm like, oh, that's right, we were stupid when we were 23, weren't we? He's like, yeah, I still remember, and you're like, this job is not going to work. I am now in trouble.
See you later.
Yep. All right. Thanks, Jim. Good seeing you.
Yeah. Travis, people who want to maybe go catch a game or learn more about the Musketeers, here's your chance to kind of do some promotion, sir.
Well, I mean, we have obviously we have so many games, in the course of a season at home, 30 plus. We're kind of getting in that area now where we're having big games. New Year's Eve is one of the biggest games of the year for us. We'll have well over, close to 4,000 people or over 4,000 people here in the Tyson Event Center for that game on New Year's Eve. And for some reason, we never win on New Year's Eve. We've won like 4 times in the past 18 or 19 years we've won on New Year's Eve. I don't know what it is.
It's the curse.
So this year we're actually leaning into it, and it's like reverse the curse. We're getting the shirts made. We're gonna break some mirrors, walk under ladders, have some black cats run in front of us. I don't care what we have to do, anything to stop this. So that's a big game. Coming up in January also, you can go to our website for this, but we're giving away round trip tickets we're giving away 2 trips to Hawaii. So we're going to send somebody to Hawaii for a trip for 2. And all you got to do is show up to the game, and one person is going to be drawn randomly in the 3rd period, and they win a trip to Hawaii for 2. So
there you go.
It's going to be great. So there's all kinds of different games and different promotions we're doing, including an autism game where we're helping out Camp I Hopes with that as well. So look it up. Come to the games. You'll love the Musketeers. We lead league in penalty minutes. We had a goalie fight in Green Bay this past weekend. So if that's your cup of tea, which let's be honest, everybody likes a good hockey fight. You can try to say that, I don't like. You do. Everybody likes a good
Yep.
fight. Come on, let's be honest. But if that's your cup of tea, then that's us this year. You know, that we're kind of that team.
That's great. Travis, thank you so much for it was awesome to get to hear your living out your full circle dream, and I think it's really going to inspire some of our listeners. So thanks again for joining us on the show.
Eli, it's a pleasure, and thank you for having me on. I really appreciate it.
Of course, sir. Well, thank you everyone for listening, and we'll see you on the next one.
Know someone with serious grit and a great growth story? Send them our way at grittogrowthpodcast.com/guest.